Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and also the Brink. With me here is Susie, surprised fanatic of, I don't, like, what's going on here?
No, I just turned my head and I can see my foundation line. So I'm trying to blend it, and then all of a sudden we're starting and I don't know.
That's a wonderful foundation for the start of a video. No.
Ba-dum-cha.
Indeed. So, we have a great topic today. We have a plenty of things to talk about. And first off, though, I want to know what you're playing.
Nothing really important.
What did you finish?
I did finish Sea of Stars.
Yeah, so, she says about a 3 out of 10.
No. I'd give it maybe a 7, 8 out of 10.
Brutal.
You know, I don't know. Actually, no, I'd give it a solid 7. 8's too generous for me.
Wow. Too generous.
No. Okay, it's really hard. I honestly liked the game.
She just
but when I
like
have
reading.
To sit down and think about it, I actually have more negative things to say about the game, things that bothered me or I didn't enjoy as much, than good things I had to say about the game. But I still really enjoyed the game. So it's a really weird dynamic where I'm there's a lot of nitpicky stuff about it, but I still really enjoyed it, if that makes sense. I
just didn't have enough necromorphs in it for
No.
Dead Space.
Oh my gosh. No.
Not enough playing it in the woods, I'm assuming.
Something like that, yes.
Okay, so what I've been playing, what everyone really wants. No, I'm just kidding. I've been playing. If you watch me stream on Twitch, I have been playing Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
And I have been playing just the base game right now. I'm going through it again, streaming it. I probably should have started. I've been wanting to play it over again anyways. And I should have started Phantom Liberty, which is the DLC that I've been wanting to play. And it's been out a month. And I still have not gotten to it yet. But
I've heard it's good.
That's what I heard too. I can't say if it's good or not because I haven't played it yet. I have the little mission that says start now, the DLC.
Then just do it. Do you have to play the whole game before you play?
They changed up the ending a little bit, and plus I'm having fun. I just need to play / stream more. I have all these projects that I'm working on, and so this is one of them, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then I'm starting on my video game, not full time, but I guess full time as possible starting next month. So I have a very busy schedule, but I vow to still play Cyberpunk 2077 because it is good. And that's what leads us in to today's topic.
Yes.
I always thought it was good, but most people are going to say there was the fall and the rise of the Cyberpunk 2077 game.
Yes.
When it first came out, not my words, other people's words, garbage, fire heap, potato, mess.
Yes. To be fair, though, you had just gotten a new PC that had a lot of bells and whistles at the time.
Hold up. It's 6 months since I got a PC.
Okay, so
In the PC world, that could be a long time.
True, but I still feel like it was, good enough that, and really Cyberpunk, it's...
The genre is one of my favorite genres, so...
Yeah.
Deus Ex, a lot of other ones where whatever you want to say if that is cyberpunk or not, it's near enough in my heart to be cyberpunk, dystopian kind of futuristic world.
Well, there's that, but also Cyberpunk when it came out originally played its best on high-powered PCs.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And that's what you played it on. So
and we'll get into all that. We'll get into the
100%.
whole mess in today's episode. We're trying to be more relevant with some of our topics. Yes, this topic's about a month old, but you know what?
Life needs to slow down.
Life needs to slow down. I agree with this.
It's we need to get out of this TikTok, trends last a week, change, lifestyle.
We're going to start a new trend. The new trend is that trends last longer than a week.
There you go. Perfect. I love it.
It depends. It depends on what it is. I think this is one that people are going to like. So, what I do think context matters, and I think you're the context queen along with Dan Carlin. But
good old Dan Carlin.
Yeah, hardcore history.
Yes, hardcore history. Dan Carlin.
Go if you like history, or even you don't.
Yes.
You might learn to love it with that. So for this, I brought my history
You're nerd
here to help maybe explain a little bit what this how this company started, and I think it kind of helps to showcase like how big of a fall it was in the beginning and how they were able to climb back up, because really this game or the company is beloved.
Yes.
So what happened is a disaster on many levels.
Yeah.
And I have so much to say on this. I'm so excited, but do you want to kick us off with a little bit of a history lesson?
Let's go back in our Wayback Machine here.
Back to when I was born.
Back in my day. No, so actually, so I did a lot of research. Shouldn't say a lot, but enough research into.
You watched me play the game. I've talked to you about this for years. I've mentioned, like, you've consumed plenty on this topic.
Yes, exactly. But in terms of the history of CD Projekt Red and everything else like that, I'm actually pretty fascinated by the company and its history, because it is a Polish company and its two founders, forgive me, I do not speak Polish. I had to rewrite these names like 5 times because I was trying to find something that reasonably I could pronounce.
Michot Kaczynski
and
Mikhail
yeah
Kaczynski.
So it's Mikhail Kaczynski and Marcin Chinovinsky or something. I don't know. So forgive me.
Marcin.
You can correct in the comments because again, I am not.
No, honestly, I've heard plenty of Polish names pronounced. It's close enough.
Okay, cool. We're close. Anyways,
I just offended everyone.
The interesting thing for them is that they actually started playing the tabletop game of Cyberpunk. And Cyberpunk got released, the tabletop version, in 1988. And it got released either right at the end. I think it got released into Poland right as the Soviet Union released Poland from its rule, because the Soviet Union collapsed in 1983, but a lot of the Eastern Bloc countries were starting to gain their independence prior to this, and I believe Poland got their independence around 1989.
A lot of countries around the end of the 80s got their essentially got their independence back as the
CCCP.
Yeah, no, I know, but like in Russian, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into a Russian lesson, but it collapsed. Took a long time for everything to do its thing.
But so the interesting thing is that the creator of the Cyberpunk, tabletop game was like, we're gonna sell like 5 copies of this game in Poland. It's not gonna do well, but they apparently sold it to the right person, and so they would play. And so actually Cyberpunk has had a longer history than The Witcher in sort of their, well, maybe not necessarily, but it's had a long time to sort of ruminate and be expounded upon, and the lore and everything, since like they were playing these tabletop games.
I can't remember. I think the Witcher book series started in like the 90s to 2000s potentially. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure the Cyberpunk concept, style, and all that was before.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. People don't know this, but Cyberpunk was a tabletop game before anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and I can't remember the exact book, but there was a book released in 1984 that kind of kicked off the whole cyberpunk genre.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the name of it. I'll have to look it up sometime later. But yeah, so they went on to, PC gaming, CDs, gaming, whatever, became like really big in the 90s. So these two, they started their own business of importing games from the US and then selling those discs in the Polish markets at like video game fairs and stuff like that.
Were they I think they were also doing translations and stuff too, weren't they? Were they also doing?
I didn't see that.
I can't remember. I looked into. There's tons of documentaries on this type of stuff, and like their documentary, like CD Projekt Red's awesome, awesome documentary to watch. yeah, I'm not going to source it right now because I can't remember the exact name of the channel, but you could pretty much look up CD Projekt Red documentaries on YouTube and find it.
Yeah.
So yeah, my little thing on this is that in Russia, even back in the 2000s, had bootlegging, was really big in the bootlegging. And they had their games subtitled, so I'd assume that these were subtitled too.
Eventually, yeah.
But this was legit. This was importing, I believe. Yes. This was not the Russian style, which I don't think that's as big. Well, it might be back again now. I think it is. But, they went away from bootlegging to more legit. But the bootleg stores you walk into, and it looked like a game store that had just games everywhere, but they were a little suspicious. But,
it was half mice, not half life.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a Chinese knockoff. Half mice. Half.
I don't
know. There's a lot of mice in this game. I don't remember Half-Life being like this.
Think of. I don't know. It's the first
You've ruined my life. I had a perfect life. I had my Cyberpunk. I had my Half-Life. I had everything, and then you had to introduce mice to it, and I'm good. I'm good now. Like. I'll have to.
I'll go to my little corner now.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'll get over it one day. I was. All my dreams have to be squashed at one point. Oh my god. No, I guess it wasn't a dream. All my past,
all your passions,
all my passions. Yeah. Okay.
There you go. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well.
Anyways, so here you got, little Macau and Marchin. In high school, and they've run their business so well that by high school they can just run this business, and that's why it's called CD Projekt. Like, because that's such a weird name for like a development studio in some ways. But yeah, from there they kind of expand. So I think it's 2002. So they graduated in 1984, kept doing their business of selling, games. And then in 2002, they rebranded as a gaming studio because, from my understanding, they were hit a little bit by the .com burst.
Oh, yeah. The
bubble burst.
The bubble burst. And that was a pretty harsh one. There were so many analysts saying, well, that's it for the internet and for digital media.
I know.
Now, digital media and games is bigger than Hollywood, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's massive.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just a little bit of Linux humor. CD could also stand for Change Directory. So Change Directory project, right?
There you go.
Not that many people are going to care about that, right? But that's when you're changing your folder in the terminal in Linux. Well, okay, enough nerding out.
So yeah, they started and they approached the author of The Witcher, and at the time the author was kind of not super well known, and so when they said, hey, we want the rights to your work to make it into a video game, he was like, okay, fine, you can give me a lump sum of $10,000 US.
He was not happy.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they finally, in 2019, they went to court and settled, I think, out of court to rectify like some of his lost gains from it. But still, like, talk about blunder of blunders. Like, this is the company that will go on to make Witcher 3, one of the best selling games of all time. And you sold it for $10,000.
Subkowski. Mm-hmm. He does not like video games really that much. He didn't think it was going to do very well, so he sold it for $10,000. Now, that being said, he's the one that dreamed up this whole thing. I do think that CD Projekt Red, obviously, I think anytime when someone is the creator of your concept and you're making billions, you should potentially pay them a little bit more or give them a little bit of a royalty. My belief. Mm-hmm. But I'm a little bit more, I shouldn't say social kind of thing. It's just more or less share the wealth a little.
I didn't see how they settled.
No, but it was messy and there was a lot of issues. I do think they were trying to be more generous. I will say, I do think CD Projekt Red at this point in time did try a lot to rectify all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But, the author.
Yeah.
He's an interesting author.
He sounds like a little bit of a stick in the mud.
He is a stick in the mud.
You know,
he makes a great book, but I'm sorry, I think the games are better. I think Witcher 3 is a superior story to the books.
And I heard someone say that like CD Projekt Red, like they're not game developers, they're storytellers. And
I will say Witcher 1 and 2, I never finished them. Witcher 2 is much better than 1. 1, I did not finish it because I got bored.
And that's the thing is like Witcher 1 did fine, but there was definitely like it did not do as well as I think they were hoping. It was a good first try.
And there's a lot of people that liked it. I got it free with my NVIDIA or AMD or ATI. I can't remember what card it was back in the day. I got it for free. I liked it enough, but I had other things I was playing. Who knows when that came out? Could have been Dead Space. But I liked it. It's just wasn't my thing.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, like Witcher 1 is the whole reason that they went out and made their Red engine.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to, be able to create something better. So they created an entire engine to build their games.
This was the era of creating engines, and so a lot of big studios then were often small studios. Epic, you got CD Projekt Red, you've got Crytek, a bunch of other engines that kind of came from this were developed during this period, like around in the 2000s, and now are what is the foundation for a lot of games. That being said, the Red Engine is being retired, as it should be. Here's the thing. Every game developer starts out, especially if you're young, like I could start, I could build a video game, or a game engine. I could start on this.
Right.
Then they quickly realize it takes a lot of work to create a game.
Well, and then on top of it, so if you're doing it to create a game, you're just like quadrupling your amount of work, because not only are you going to create a game, which is a crap ton of work in and of itself, but then you're also going to be like, I'm going to do all the things that make it work.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work. I don't need to go much further. You could follow my game development journey and I'll talk about that. But I do think it was good for some of these companies because there wasn't really an engine to use. Nowadays, Epic Games or the Unreal Engine, Godot, and Unity are the best choices right now for really like AAA.
Right.
Or even
and to be fair, I mean, at the time
indies.
they were a small indie company in Poland.
Yep.
So for them, it made sense to create their own engine.
Maybe. I just don't think it was very common back then to have like access to a pre-made one. Potentially they could have branched off. Maybe Source would have been a good one. Actually, Source probably would have been a good way to go for them. But and maybe honestly, I'd have to look into the Red Engine. I can't remember. Oftentimes there are branches off, so it could be related to one of the engines that are already out there. But we don't, this is not the engine podcast. This is the reason why we're telling this story is that it really shows, this should be called the Rise of CD Projekt Red, but we're going to frame it into the Cyberpunk because
the rise, the fall, the redemption.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it because Witcher 1, 2 were, while successful and good, Witcher 3 was...
It's what put CD Projekt Red on the map. It's what took it out of being an obscure kind of Eastern European gaming studio to a global phenomenon. And it was a good game. And they genuinely seemed to care about, user issues and really taking care of it, making patches, doing all those types of things.
The DLC was, I can't remember if it was free.
They released 2 DLCs that were almost...
2 DLCs that were full games, essentially.
Yes.
So for Witcher 3, the DLCs I actually think are better than the base game. While saving series fun and all, it's very predictable. It's a fun time. You get to learn and grow in the world. The game is amazing. It took me almost a year to beat because there's just so much to it.
How many hours did you put into a single playthrough? Wasn't it like over 200 hours just for a single playthrough of that game?
Put 210 hours or something like that into it.
Yeah.
Of the DLCs and everything. I literally did everything except for a couple of boat locations on Skyllaga. So take that with it. I did pretty much everything. I kind of got into a very big kick on that, and I loved it. Now, you could completely understand my excitement when they announced Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
And when was it announced again? It was like 2000.
So this is the interesting thing. They actually released a trailer in 2013.
Yeah.
Highlighting a cyberpunk-esque game. There was very little beyond that, But this is, they're also a company that isn't like Blizzard or some of these other production studios that release games yearly or,
They release it when it's done. And that's one of the things that I think got people to respect it. They also release things... like you get a good deal when you buy a CD Projekt Red game, and also
they've only released 6 games since 2007,
which is crazy, and all within the Witcher and Cyberpunk franchise, right?
I believe so. Yes.
So and they focus on games that have longevity rather than creating new titles every couple of years, like you said. There's not Call of Duty, Call of Witcher, and
Assassin's
Call of Duty.
Creed,
the way Call of Duty works, though. You kind of they're different games. I think it's comparing apples to oranges
100%.
in some way. So, but it's still enduring, and they did a good job. And they want to make a great game when they come out with it. Now, like with any tale of corporations, and they're incorporated, they get bigger. Tons of success with 1, tons of success with 2. Well, okay, I shouldn't say tons, but quite a bit of success with 1, more success with 2, tons of success with Witcher 3.
Exponential, just insane amount comparison to 3 versus 1 and 2.
And then it took them years after they announced Cyberpunk 2077 to release it.
Yeah. Well, so they released that initial trailer in 2013. Then 2018, they released a 45-minute long demo at E3. But it was the 2019 E3 where they had the whole Keanu Reeves reveal. And
that would have been such a cool one to go to.
Right? So, yeah, if you were a fan of them as a studio in 2013... then you would have known about it. But I would say most people who are sort of post Witcher 3 kind of knew about it 2018.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. And it's just, and the way people think about games are like, well, it was in development since this time. Pre-development and a lot of other things, because you remember, they were still working on Witcher, and the way games work and overlap in bigger studios as you get bigger and bigger is that you're going to have a game getting towards the end, and maybe the polishing doesn't need the modelers, like the 3D modelers or the story developers as much, or a lot of other people. So what they are going to do is they're going to get onto the next project. And that's what kind of happened here. That's why people are like, well, it's been developed. Like, why can't it be perfect?
Yeah.
People love to talk about things without knowing it. I mean, I do too. You do. I think we all do, but
does.
But don't go so hard into ramming insults into people's faces if you don't really.
You have to have a little self-awareness that
don't tell the internet that.
I know.
That's not going to end well.
No, it won't. But have some self-awareness about being told about self-awareness.
Context. And just understand. But don't get me wrong. This is not to
No. It's just more that's the thing is just humility and patience and et cetera. Virtues that people hate.
Keanu Reeves, all I have to say is I loved him in Cyberpunk. I know so many people didn't, but I loved him. And I think he was a success and it made it better. Unpopular opinion, popular opinion, potentially. I just have to say that.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just, I don't know.
He's awesome.
Yeah. It's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Some people don't like it. They think it's like Hollywood mixing, but I don't know. I really like it. I want to see more cameos.
I know. Like sometimes some cameos are really like cheesy and terrible, but I don't know.
Red alert. It's got what's his face in it. You know who this is?
Yes.
He's like the Soviet. He has a Soviet role. Is it Tim?
It's not coming to mind.
It's not coming to mind either. People, okay, you can let us know in the comments below, or let us remember. We don't remember the name, but he was like the Soviet commander. No, you were the commander. He was like the Soviet leader, essentially, in Red Alert. Okay. We don't need to go into this, or he was something. Interesting accent. Okay. So, besides that tangent that went nowhere. So after that, yeah, we've got it. We've talked about, I think up to the point.
So up to this point, you know, they're loved, they're respected. They released a beautiful game in Witcher 3. They were promising that they weren't going to do like crunch times, and that they were going to,
which is very admirable. Like,
yes,
that's one of the things that kind of prevented me from going into, there's a lot of things that prevented me from going into game development early on in my career, which now I'm hoping to switch to now and have my own studio. That's my dream. That and doing, YouTube stuff, podcasting. I love doing all of this, but it's just the crunch, man. Yeah.
I will say this about Sea of Stars, the production company that made it, like that was one of their big goals, was work-life balance while making the game, and the game got delayed multiple times because of it.
Well, to be fair, though, that game, the way it's built, is not a very complex game.
Oh, no. But
so it doesn't need as much crunch.
No, but it's just highlighting that a company that's willing to
But I agree. Like
that forward, it's commendable. It's
CD Projekt Red even tried to do this too. They still had the old guard mentality at times. The problem is it grew. The higher ups really lost touch of certain things. They tried, but then crunches came. And when I saw the crunches, I'm like, please, here's my mentality as a developer. I'm not going to say there's never going to be a crunch. There will be a 1 or 2 crunch. Once you get past 2 crunches on a video game development cycle, you got major issues going on, and you should delay it and not crunch anymore. But usually at the end, you got a lot of stuff you got to touch up. You got to do a lot of things. If that's the case, and as long as it's successful, because, if it's not successful, then you got to pretty much lay off your old developers. That's another thing people don't understand, is that games is stressful. It's fun and rewarding in a lot of ways, very stressful.
Yeah.
So if it's successful, they better damn well be sending those developers onto a cruise and giving them fat effing bonuses, because they deserve it. And I don't think enough game companies do it. No, they give it to their investors who don't do anything.
Well, that's
a whole other. That's a whole
and
other.
I'll get into a point on that. As we keep going,
and we will. So we're leading up to it. They've delayed it multiple times. Finally, they're like, you know what? It's got to be released here. And then part of that is because they want to look good. The investors are kind of getting
antsy. They want them to push it. I think it's also just a little bit of the flew too close to the sun a little bit. They'd had so much acclaim and success. And the thing with them is that because they don't release games frequently, what they do capitalize on are games that have longevity.
Yeah.
They perform well year after year, regardless of the fact that they were released, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yep.
And so, they had all this, but Witcher 3 kind of just, blew open the doors. And I think there was also all that pressure from the investors. We want you to deliver another success for us. We want, all of this. We want all of that. And I think it's
money. They also, even though they have tons of money in the coffer, they are like, this is bleeding. We got to make sure that, this isn't even going to be a successful hit. We don't know until it's released and all that. They would have sold and made so much more money. They got damaged so bad in the end from this. It is probably one of the biggest story. Now, I really don't like how many people crapped on CD Projekt Red, but at the end of the day,
it is ironic that they delivered a game about a dystopian. One moment.
We'll be right back.
Okay, back after our brief interlude. But what I was saying is I find it ironic that they made a game about a dystopian, sort of capitalistic greed monger, society. And then they released a game early because of greed.
greed, capitalism. They were the corpos. They were they were the baddies that they were warning against. And there's a lot of that in this game.
You were supposed to destroy the corpos, not join them.
Pretty much. It was Star Wars all over again. So, yeah, no, at the end of the day, and I don't once again, the political thing and all that, but like, we are getting into a little bit of this corpo dystopian cyberpunk world, and that's, you know, one of the things that this game is meant, you know, a lot of games, a lot of stories, they do try to give warnings, they try to, you know, there's so many books and all that, and it's very complex, but
right.
At the end of the day, cyberpunk is like this dystopian world that's run by just greed, sensationalism, chasing after money, fame, fortune, modifying yourself. It's about the way you look, which at one point, all that's okay, but it's super excessive.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of funny. That's what kind of
they went through. Yeah. They did. Yeah.
So, funny thing is, game reviewers. So when this came out, it came out at the end of 2020. 2020. Man, I keep on thinking it's 2021 or something like that. Right. So at the end of 2020, they released the game.
It was December, so yeah.
November.
Was it November?
No, was when I think reviewers got it.
Yes.
So game reviewers had to sign a strict NDA to not show any game footage of the game. There was, I think, a leak of this at one point that gave rise because it was so bad and people were freaking out about it.
Yeah.
That it's just, they did do a pretty good job of still keeping it under wraps.
100%. But even like for some console gamers, they were given keys and they couldn't get into the game.
They couldn't activate it.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it just, I mean, maybe it's a little conspiratorial to say that, you know, it was on purpose to kind of hide the fact that it was so bad on consoles, but you kind of have to wonder. It's like they knew it wasn't console ready. Yeah. You know, and what they could have done, honestly, which I've seen, I mean, heck, Hogwarts Legacy, I think, is going to be released for Switch next month. Supposed to come out in January of this year, but now it's coming out in November. So I'm like, what was also their mindset of like, it was optimized for PC first, so release it for the PC, then do a later launch for PlayStation and.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. If you want to get in the whole Switch thing, they should have never even announced Hogwarts for the Switch. I get what they were trying to do. Probably tons of potheads will play that, you know, that have a Switch and would play it.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But they had to rework so much of that game. The game's visually very different than what you're going to be getting on any of the other consoles.
Yeah.
This, and they learned from that, obviously, I'm sure. They should not have released Cyberpunk 2077 for PlayStation 4. And this is coming. So I think PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X had just come out the year before. So they're fresh new consoles. And so it sucks. And they wanted to have the best sales cycle period. They ended up just killing that, though, in the beginning.
I do wonder, too, if some of like the pandemic kind of fueled some of that decision, because PS5 was so hard to find during most of 2020.
To become a PC gamer.
Oh, I agree. I just wonder
Scrubs,
if they
you need to become a PC gamer.
I just wonder if they went more with the decision that they did to release it for PS4 because they're like, well, we don't know if we're going to be able to get as many PS5 players.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to get your hands on it, and it was expensive.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's still was like, there was, I'm sure, multiple decisions being made that were wrong ultimately, because if it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good. Don't release a game. It really destroys like the reputation they took. That took them so many years, and they had probably one of the best reputations at that period. Like leading up to 2020, they were probably the most respected games developer in the world.
Yeah.
Blizzard probably had that title before their whole downfall in the mid 2015s or something, 2015. But Valve's, they're going to continue. Like, they would probably have that if they released a game ever. But let's not get it down to that. They had this great reputation, and they risked it to release it for, and maybe there was some people we want to make sure everyone can play it. Doesn't matter. They couldn't play it because PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One versions were almost unplayable depending on what it was you're doing. Yeah. And the bugs were so bad. Like, I saw before once they updated, it was slightly better, but it was sparse. It was really sad because it looked worse than like the Witcher 1 game, which is sad. It was so bad. I'm probably being very bombastic with all that, but it was so bad that it's just people were in shock.
Right.
And then the shitstorm started.
Right. Well, I think it's also important to note, too, that, they'd gotten so much, hype with Witcher 3 and so much trust and so much just, accolades and everything like that. But they also, like, not long after Witcher 3 was released, they started having a lot of PR issues.
Oh,
was
yeah.
Also causing some problems
for those
them.
Again.
So, like, they've hit a few nerves with a lot of trans issues where certain statements have been made on social media because from my understanding, Poland's a fairly conservative country. And so sometimes the way they talk about things isn't exactly on par with how a lot of people in the West talk about things like LGBTQ and trans issues and stuff like that. It does depend.
It depends. The more Eastern European countries tend to be a little bit more that way. But yeah. No.
So they said a few things that were kind of tone deaf. Gamergate happened not long after Witcher 3's release. And that was a whole mess.
Gamergate
but
was so stupid.
It was stupid, but there were
that
so
might
many...
warrant a whole... I know that's an old stale topic, but that might be a fun one to dive into. People might not understand what Gamergate is.
Right.
It's stupid.
But, they said one or two things about that people didn't like. And there's just, like, several different things like that where certain things were said on, like, social. And because this is, like, between, I feel like, 2015 to, like, 2019, 2020 maybe... Like, there was a lot of, like, very heated, like, cancel culture and just stuff going
cancel
on.
Culture.
I know, it's lovely.
And the best part is both sides cancel, so...
100%. This isn't,
No,
but
that's the stupid part about cancel culture is that everyone blames everyone else for canceling. It's just like, you guys cancel.
Everyone cancels.
If you don't like something, then you're not going to consume it. That's canceling. Like, whatever. Like, we've had this since the dawn of time. So...
Yeah, but... That's just to say they had issues with.
I would assume that
image.
they'd be a little bit more on the trans acceptance side because Cyberpunk, you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah,
it's all kind of the whole point of it.
I think that people were worried because some of the things that they said. They were kind of worried, like, how are they going to, represent LGBTQ people? How are they going to represent, genders and race and a bunch of other things and with just some of the stuff they said. And I wish I could remember off the top of my head the things that were said.
Yeah. No, I remember some controversies happening. And you got to remember, like, the Quest and story makers and the PR team, different people.
100%.
So, but at the end of the day,
I think they ended up firing a couple of PR people over
I wouldn't be
those
surprised.
issues. But it just means that they had
suffered a
little bit. So some of that trust was already, like, for some gamers was
to
already
be fair,
a
probably a lot less people
smaller.
than we think. But yeah, it was a start there. But at the end of the day, they lost trust in all that really. Oh my gosh, Loki is
wild Loki has barked.
Loki is, our dog is not happy with what Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red did to us. No, they just once they released it in December 2020, it was, I saw it. I think I waited a few weeks before I bought it and played it, and I did do a podcast episode on the old podcast on this. I loved it. I got it. I was like, I don't get what your problem is with it. I waited a few weeks to make sure it was patched and everything because I knew that it was having issues. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a good game. If you had a powerful enough PC, it was fine. I've actually had more bugs now playing the game than I did back then, I feel like. But a bug's not going to stop me unless it corrupts the save. So with that, like refunds. How many refunds were there? Like
there were so many. I think by April of 2021, there were 30,000 copies that had been refunded. Yeah. So I don't know how many copies as of to date there were, but I mean, still, if you think about that, so December to April is 6-7 months.
Yeah.
And so 30,000 copies is a lot.
I think
a lot of money.
I have a PlayStation 4 copy that I do want to put into my place. I don't even think I have a PlayStation 4 anymore. Damn it. I wanted to put it on my PlayStation 4 and not have a connected internet and just see how bad it was because I bought it technically because one of the co-hosts on the old podcast didn't have a copy and wanted to play it, and so he had a bad time on it.
Right.
Because it's PlayStation 4 version. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like they had to refund all those copies. They lost so much sales. I bet you most people ended up refunding it if they cared about their money. Yeah. Or maybe some people were waiting and they got frustrated. But yeah. I think it was right of them, or actually it was Sony, and I don't even think CD Projekt Red said they were going to accept the refunds right away. I think Sony took the lead on that.
Sony took it out of their
and then
store.
I believe Xbox. Yeah, Sony completely took it out, but also said, "Hey, we'll accept any refunds." It was a big debacle, and Sony was
and they sold 13.7 million copies their first month.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, okay. There you go. So not even enough. Probably. I don't know. All I know is I think a lot of people bought it on PC too.
Yeah.
You got to remember, there's like 1.8 billion PC gamers.
Yeah.
That being said, that's a very rough estimate and also very large. Could include just Minecraft players or just like whatever players.
Yeah. But then their investors took them to court over it and wanted to sue for fraud.
So here's the thing. There was some fraud on both sides. Investors need to understand you can't push people to deadlines like this. This is what happens, first and foremost. Investors and higher-ups and all that stuff. The higher-ups of the company are probably the most to blame because they promised the investors something to be released as soon as possible so that they could see money coming back. And then also pushed the poor devs to push it out and also promised them stuff, I'm sure. At the end of the day, I feel bad for the devs because I'm sure they didn't want to release what it was. It doesn't look good. Like, when you're a developer and working with it directly, it hurts a lot. I feel bad for them. That being said, developers also aren't great at time estimations. They could have been telling also the higher ups the whole time that, hey, yeah, well, I think we're going to be done soon. I think we'll be done. There's a whole debacle. What should have happened was they should be doing reviews of the test builds every few months and be like, yeah, this is not ready.
Yeah.
And decided. Someone was in charge of doing that, and that's the blame. The person who was in charge, like, saw not the quality assurance people, they're not to blame. The person who saw those demos and saw the game in its state and that decided to push it.
Well, some of the developers went on record saying that, like, we needed more time and we didn't even really know fully how this game was going to come together or what it even was up until, like, the very last, little bit.
I guess, I don't know. Like, the game seems pretty flushed out in my opinion. There's a lot of, like, stories that kind of go off and kind of don't meld too well, but I mean they have something pretty decent.
Yeah, and I mean that's just what I've heard that's been said. So it could have been other issues too.
Yeah,
And
Loki is not happy. He is very upset about this whole issue, But
Yes, he's very angry.
I will redact a little bit of the investors. The board is more to blame. A lot of investors didn't understand or know. But at the end of the day, like, you invested in this and you were given, hopefully, like, I don't know. There's so much that goes into this, and I just don't I don't feel as bad for investors. And I've been an investor in companies before, so it's not like I'm just going after them. I just feel bad for the devs.
Yeah.
And there is, and I'm sure there was people that were left over this. There was people there. This is really fractured CD Projekt Red, but I'm impressed because this is the fall, and that's the lowest they got.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the rise.
Yeah.
You think so, or do we have anything else to talk about?
I think that's pretty comprehensive.
Very comprehensive. So the rise part is going to be the shortest part, but
yeah,
they stuck with it. Ultimately, it's a redemption story.
Yes.
There's a lot of game companies that have redeemed themselves over the years. No Man's Sky is a great example. They didn't charge anything extra for all the updates and put a ton of money into it. And honestly, I hope they're doing okay as a game development company. People don't understand. It's expensive to build games these days.
Yes.
It's so expensive. Engineers should be making in the hundreds of thousands, and engineers do, but like game developers, modelers, artists, all don't oftentimes. And they should be making, like, these are very, very highly skilled professional positions. But let's not get into that too much more. The redemption, though, is that they worked on it. Just like any of the other redemption arcs for a lot of games. Some games just, you got to abandon it.
Sonic the Hedgehog out of it.
What is that a reference to? Is there like, the movie?
Yeah.
They removed the teeth. They're like,
we created a crappy product and people are not happy. Let's redraw this thing fast.
No. We created a nightmare fuel, and they didn't release it. Luckily, they did it on the trailer, and that was like, that's where you're supposed to catch it, I feel like, and then fix it. Honestly, they should have caught it
in their first production.
No, they should have caught it, during what is it, like, you do user testing, player testing. CD Projekt Red should have, like, a lot of companies need to start doing more player testing to validate certain things. They could have caught this in there. But that's besides the point. Redemption arc, they kept updating. I would have to say that from December to probably the end of February of 2021, the game greatly improved with a lot of updates. They kept it up. Those poor developers crunched so much. I really feel bad for them at the end of the day. They crunched up to the point of release, and then they crunched. And then I think they took a hiatus. Like, they took a break for like a few weeks to almost, like, I think it was like a week or two at bare minimum, where they just did a company-wide thing. And I know some people were upset, but I'm like, dude, you guys can, like, these devs need to take a break. They need a break. Like, really, people need to start having some humanity. They act like the $60 that they put down deserves freaking these people becoming slaves and going into the diamond mine.
Yeah, it's so interesting. People are just never satisfied with anything.
Patience.
People just need to learn. I don't know. I know it's so complex. I know that there's so many arguments. But, like, you need to be patient. People need breaks. People need to be paid well. People need just things like...
These are necessities, I think, that I want to see in the world. But what's a week or two more going to do? I know some people are just like, well, they should have released it right in the first part. Yes, they should have. That's over with. It's done. They released it. Your complaining does zero and just hurts the development. Like,
honestly,
once they get a good break,
people just want to be heard and validated. Honestly,
well, I don't validate you. I'm gonna say it right now, you're not validated. Like, it doesn't matter. You can like you gotta have some breaks, or else you do not get good products. You do not get a better product by working people, especially engineers, where it's very thought-provoking, or not thought-provoking, but very mentally straining job by working them 80 hours a week. Yeah. You're going to get more bugs. It's bad. In fact, some retrogression where essentially bugs were reintroduced back in, or some bugs came in, did happen from too much of this crunch. I know from December up until April. But then things smoothed out. They started getting. They had a good game plan. They really started the flesh out. This is what we're going to have done. We're going to have a lot of things. And they did a good job. It took them a year to really get things ironed out technically, but honestly, I don't think the game changed drastically for me on my big beefy PC from then until now, or at least from April until of 2021 till now.
Right.
But the new up until this new update. So they have they have Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 that they just came out with a month ago.
Right.
Along with the new DLC.
Yeah. Phantom Liberty.
Yes, Liberty of the Phantoms.
Yes.
No, but yeah, they reworked the skill system. Some people are not happy about this, which is funny. They should have given 2 options, but whatever. They reworked tons of stuff that were kind of broken. For me, I'm going through it again. I don't feel like it's a huge difference, except for the skill tree. I do like the skill tree more. So people don't. I do like it a little bit more. It feels like actually spending points both matters and also has to be more thought provoking. Before I was just specking whatever I want.
Right.
And honestly, before, like, the skill tree wasn't that great. This time around, it feels like when I'm spending points, even though it might not translate like that in my gameplay, it feels like it does something.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think it's good. It's a good redemption arc. They've worked on it. I think it works great everywhere. Even the PlayStation 4 works better than it used to. But at the end of the day, there was no way that this game, it looks beautiful. It looks better.
It looks really nice.
If you look at it on a decently spec'd machine, PC, PlayStation 5, the skyscrapers, the density of the cities, everything about it is just fantastic.
Yeah. And
so it was a hard ask to have the PS4 be able to play this.
Yeah.
But the Steam Deck has a Cyberpunk 2077 mode on it that plays it pretty good. Not good enough for me because that game's a very action-oriented, heavy game. So I find that I don't like it on the Steam Deck as much. ROG Ally, better. I do like it on the ROG Ally, but like the Steam Deck, it's okay. I know
it definitely feels like a game that is a better experience with a bigger screen. And
that's a game that I like to just, I want it to be bleeding my eyes out with its graphical fidelity, and it just doesn't do that on the Steam Deck. Now, that being said, if you're a Steam Deck player and owner, that's your main system or whatever it is, you're still going to have a good time. Don't let my trashing it on the Steam Deck, even though it runs fine on the Steam Deck, it's just not for me, ruin your time. So I definitely want to preface, like, you enjoy it. It's cool that they offered that, and it plays pretty decently on there. It's just, sorry, it looks so much better on the PC.
Yeah.
And other devices. So, anything I'm missing out on this? Did I cover pretty much everything?
I think so. I do want to mention, I think his name was it's the quest director, Powell Sasko.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this was kind of interesting, like during sort of the interim period of, original release, he just wasn't super happy with.
Not a lot of people were not happy.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with it, with how all of it just went down. And so he took to his own Twitch channel and answered questions directly. And I think efforts like that by just different individuals in the company also helped with like easing tensions and sort of helping the community to understand.
They really should have had more developers go out and be like, yeah, hey, it was hell, but you know what? This is what was going on. This is what we created this. And we really hope that you like it.
Yeah.
Because it is
have patience with us while we fix it.
As much like there's and the haters out there hate this game, but it's like,
well, and he said, like, he was like, the amount of disgruntled and threatening comments on his Twitch channel when he streams and answers questions and stuff has gradually calmed down.
I'm sure there's still plenty of people that are just assholes. And I just really, man, what what cowards? When you have to like really go after it, because I think there was a lot of hate on developers too. Like there was a lot of probably death threats. Where if you give death threats, man, you're just a coward.
For what?
A game.
You can get your money back.
Get your money back, or it's just $60. Yes, $60 for some is a lot of money, but you know what? Yeah,
I'm not like gonna say $60 is a drop in the bucket, but
it's definitely worth.
It's not worth hurting anybody.
A life is worth a lot more.
Yeah, it's not worth like being a dick to people. You know,
touch grass.
Yeah,
touch grass. Go feel the real world.
Go ground.
Some people need to go ground yourself. You're a little electrified with that hate. Okay. So,
there's been our therapizing of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, the Rise, Fall, Redemption, I guess.
Yes.
You made a better title during this whole thing. Thank you.
I kind of stole the title.
Oh.
So don't credit me with it.
Oh, no. It's stolen content, which is another thing I want to talk about, too, in the near future in another podcast episode. We'll see if we cover that or...
To be fair, I saw it kind of a lot of different places, so I don't think it's that original. I think a lot of people have used it, but it's a good way to describe what it is.
Yeah, and Cyberpunk is definitely if you have not played it, it was worth playing it back then, but it's definitely worth playing now if you like sci-fi dystopian worlds that are fun, glamorous.
Great, honestly.
Yeah, it's fun. Watch my stream, some of the videos. I'll be coming out with some of the some B-roll of me just having horrible time in it, in the sense of not having like the floor display. In fact, I talk about it in I think a past podcast, don't I? In the site, I think I did or something like that. But that's besides the point. We're going to be ending this podcast because we are at time. We love it, recommend it, play it. They deserve the redemption arc. I do think, be wary, obviously, of CD Projekt Red. They still have some earning of reputation to do, but
yes,
they definitely.
Luckily, they have a few more years before their next game comes out, so hopefully they have learned.
Not going to be on the Red Engine. That I honestly think is a big part of their problem. Is the Red Engine? It was not great.
Yeah,
it was so buggy. It was a branched off version of Witcher 3, and it was branched off before I believe some of the bugs were fixed in Witcher 3. So it was just
not a great engine to build on to begin with. So.
And they wanted it to do so much, and it was kind of falling apart. So at the end of the day,
it's like that 1970s Toyota that you keep putting duct tape on.
Yeah, but that's not a good analogy because that works.
True.
It doesn't fall apart. It's like if you had that and then like, okay, I have this tank.
I'm sorry, a Ford.
Oh, no.
I just offended the Ford people.
Yeah. Throw yourself like a tank little piece onto it and crush it, and it doesn't work anymore. Drive. Okay. Bad analogies out of the way. Let us end this. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for everything. You can follow us on multiple social medias, Twitter, formerly Twitter, that is, Instagram, all those other places. And you can also check out the bonus level one here on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, YouTube memberships is the only place to find it right now, as the Patreon's getting reworked, or we're working on something. So with that, thank you guys for all the support and for everything. Want to say bye?
Goodbye. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys.
No, thanks guys. Really.
Peace out. Later.
Bye.
Congrats. Secret level unlocked. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter to curb that craving for more. If you like this episode, then make sure to leave a like, rating, follow, or whatever the platform has. Also, make sure to check out our merch at shop.gamesrevealed.com or shopundead.com. Peace.